Alright, a very good evening, YouTube fans, Twitch fans, live streaming fans everywhere. It's Captain Abs here with you once again for another evening of ATC here live on the VATSIM network. Today, you may be able to figure it out from the shape of the airspace, though it is a little bit hard to see sometimes, but we are going to be operating here in Winnipeg Center airspace tonight. So, yeah, welcome aboard. Unfortunately, it's not often a very busy sector, so it's kind of a hit or miss case with Winnipeg. So, uh, it looks like there was ATC online, and they literally just left too. Isn't that? There was somebody online just like in the minutes I was logging on, and then by the time I got on here, they are gone. So uh, we're just gonna have to deal with whoever's here. Just trying to find out who this guy is here. I think that is not even on my list at all. Squawking 1200, I guess he's really not any concern of ours. So, yeah. Anyways, here we are live in VATSIM. We've got Winnipeg Center. I'm going to put up an ATIS here in Winnipeg in case anybody wants to come down. In which case, I should check and see what the weather is doing here. A little bit gusty out of the west, so we'll go with 3-1 as our active runway today in Winnipeg, and we'll see what transpires. So right now, unfortunately, we only have one person who is VFR in our airspace and not much else happening. We got a couple of inbounds to Winnipeg, though, so in another hour or so, maybe something will happen. Unfortunately, yeah, Winnipeg is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes there's quite a few airplanes within it. Sometimes there's not. And right now, unfortunately, tonight does not look like there's much going on. There's quite a bit of stuff going on right next door over here in Winnipeg, or in, in Edmonton, between Edmonton and Calgary. A whole bunch of airplanes over there. I'm hoping maybe some of that business will spill over as we get into the evening. So, Jeff, how's it going? Welcome back to the stream. Unfortunately, there's not much going on right now, but we're going to hopefully sit here for a little while, and hopefully something will come up. Yeah, so if anybody's got a sim that they would like to boot up, please feel free. I know I often encourage the new people as well to come on to the VATSIM network when I'm controlling, and today would be a fantastic day to come down to the VATSIM network. Because it's very quiet, which means that if anybody wants to learn VATSIM, today would be a great day that I could provide some personal service to make sure you're all on board. So while we're getting organized here, let's just make sure we've got. I haven't even loaded up Winnipeg Center for actually quite a while, unfortunately. It's been at least a month, I think, since I last opened it up. It's just been very busy. It's been, yeah, what can I say? It's been very busy. There's been a lot of stuff going on VATSIM from the administrative side with the stuff I've been dealing with that has really taken up my time. And I also happened to kind of go back to work in the last week. I was doing some training, actually, so it's not, I wasn't exactly working hard, but there we go. And we got one on the ground already in Winnipeg, and I just was literally loading up the settings here to bring up Winnipeg. So let's see here. 13, 18, 31. That should be 31. That's 31. I don't like these big runway numbers, though, so we'll get rid of those. Give me 1 second to get rid of those, because I don't like those. They're just too big. And really, realistically, controllers should be familiar enough with their runway numbers that they don't need the runway numbers drawn on the screen. The runways, yes, the diagrams of the runways drawn on the screen. There's Winnipeg right in the middle, and let's go ahead and 6, and then we should see our one airplane that we have here. It can a 4172, so great, we got an airplane already. That didn't take long at all. It's not a whole lot. How long did it take you for the process to acquire S1? Well, the S1, I did it 10 years ago, so it probably has very little bearing on right now the way the system is set up, but to get the S1 rating, it doesn't take very long because the S1 is just a training rating. The S1, when you do the S1 rating, it's just shows that you're in training. It doesn't actually really give you permission to do anything. It just gives you the ability to log onto the network with trainers around. And Lucas, nice to see you. Thank you very much for showing up to our stream today. Appreciate that. And hold on a second here. All right, so um, before I do anything else, I'll answer that question for you in a minute, but I'm just going to quickly get through looking through this guy's flight plan, because when he calls up, we want to be ready. So let's see here. And so we can, oops, not that button, but this button here will show us his flight plan. He's going to Denver, so yeah. So there's his route drawn on our screen right there from Winnipeg out Coastar Depma, and that's about it. So we're going to assign runway 31 for departure right now, and I'll be honest that I'm going to need to look at the SIDs, because I know there's different SIDs for each runway in Winnipeg, and those are the preferred of the RNF SIDs off each runway, which have just one fix. So I'm just looking at them right now to remember which one is the one off 31, and it's the Vogig. So the Vogig 2 departure is the preferred departure off of runway 31. There it is. All right. And we got him a squawk code. The flight plan looks good. The altitude's correct for the direction of flight. The routing looks good. We got him assigned a runway and a squawk code. We're good to go. All right. So before we get any further into this, one thing, of course, that I have done with this, and I did it with my other stream on Twitch with A Pilot's Life, and that is, of course, that I've added a little something special extra here down in the corner. So hey, so you guys can actually see me here, and I can actually talk to a camera here and have a camera to look at. So the S1 rating itself doesn't take very long to get. It really doesn't. It's mostly about learning the most basic stuff, but really at the end of the day, the S1 rating doesn't give you permission to do anything other than just start training. The S2 rating is really the first rating you get that actually allows you to log onto the network independently without an instructor around. So the S2 will usually take a couple of months to do. Yet generally each rating on VATSIM will probably take you a couple of months to do. Now it depends on a lot of stuff. It depends on how much time you have to put into it, first of all. So obviously the more times you can put in to train, the better you're going to get. That being said, of course, your instructor also has to be available for those times, and all the instructors are volunteers, so it takes them time as well. Also, if you have background knowledge about aviation, ATC, if you're a pilot, or if you have a lot of experience flying on the VATSIM network, that will improve your ability to become a controller. So there's lots of different things that kind of work towards how well you work on your rating. Some is just luck, a matter of just finding the right times. The instructors in the VATSIM network are all volunteers, so they give freely of their time to work with people. So, a good instructor will give their students, at least one session a week, maybe 2 or 3, but at 2 hours a session, like if you have a couple of students, you can easily be spending 10 to 12 hours just training on the VATSIM network. So it can add up really quickly. And it depends on availability too. Like if you're very freely available and you don't mind, kind of doing different things at weird hours whenever your instructor's available, you can usually get through it a little bit quicker. So there's no set rule. It depends totally on your personal experience, how quickly you develop it. There's all sorts of things. Each division is different. Obviously, Canada and the U.S. are different. Europe's a very different system. Every division, because they're fairly realistic, they try to follow very realistic ATC procedures. You will learn what the actual rules are in that country, and every country is a little bit different. Now, most of the basics are kind of the same, but there's lots of little things that change from place to place. So, it'll take quite a bit of time to kind of get used to that. And then if you do decide to go transfer or visit somewhere else, it takes a little while to learn what you're doing in those other places as well. So it takes time. It takes lots of time and commitment. But the whole thing is enjoy the journey. Don't be in a rush to get your ratings. Enjoy the trip along the way, because you're going to learn tons of stuff. I just started a new student today on his S3 rating, and just to watch the light bulb kind of go in his head as he was, as I was explaining some things to him, and he kind of just saw them kind of happening, and he saw what the radar scope actually looks like, and he's like, oh, so much of what I've seen and done before now makes so much sense. And it really kind of, for him at this point, he's just enjoying just sort of understanding a little bit of the other side. He flies a lot, and then to understand what's happening on the ATC side, he's really kind of just learning a lot from that and enjoying that. So it's kind of nice to see that. So it's very much about enjoying the journey. It's a hobby. I see a lot of people who they really want to rush through it quickly, but then they get kind of burned out with it also as well. If they rush through it too quickly and they're like, oh, that was it. Now I'm done. Now I have a rating. Now what? a lot of people get their ratings, and then they sort of, because there's no more training, there's no more challenge over time. Yes, absolutely. There was a huge increase in the popularity of the VATSIM network that coincided with the release of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think even more, though, Microsoft Flight Simulator brought a lot to it. I think the other thing that brought a lot to it this last year was the pandemic. Just people being trapped at home with nothing to do, so getting onto the network more often, if not new people, and there were new people, but what it was a lot more, I think, was people who suddenly had so much time. People who were maybe familiar with the network. We had a lot of pilots who were like, well, I've never done it before, but now I'm laid off, I'm at home all the time. They've had a lot of pilots come and start their training, so I should really be watching on the ground views to see if this guy's doing, see if he wants to go anywhere. And I notice I've got the runway numbers here as well. I'm just going to remove them as well because it's very annoying. Just need a second hand to do this a little quicker and easier. There we go. All right. So Lucas, you want to know if pilot's life is worth it? Yeah. You'll probably say I'm biased because I'm gonna say yes, it absolutely is. I don't think it's that much. It is payware, but it really honestly is not very much. For payware, it's not much. And I think, again, it's a question of what you're going to get out of it. Different people will get different things out of it. But now I'm actually looking it up on Sim Market because I'm not sure, but I think it's less than 20 euros anyways. It's 16.75 euros. So, you know, you're in Canada, I think, so that's probably about $25 Canadian right now. I definitely feel like it's worth it. Now I'm curious. 24.62 Canadian. I was pretty close. $25, give or take. So it's $16.75 on Sim Market. It does go on sale periodically. It's not on sale right now, but it does go on sale every once in a while. I think around about the anniversary. I think once a year or so, maybe twice a year, it goes on sale. So you can keep an eye out for it. If you ever get it on sale, I think it's totally worth it. But even not on sale, I still think it's worthwhile. I think it's a good piece of software. I think the schedule generation is really what does it to me. It's very, it just gives you an interesting challenge to try and complete all those flights in order. So I totally think it's worth it. That's about the same cost as one airport. Less than the cost of most payware airplanes. So I think it's worthwhile. I definitely do. I would recommend it anyways. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. But I think it's, for that price, for 16.75 euros, even that, I think it's worth it. If you're gonna follow it, that's the thing. If you're gonna follow it, and you can, obviously, you don't have to do it like I did. Like I took a very strange approach to it, maybe doing it all on the Twitch stream. So I have never not done a leg of my pilot's life career not on a Twitch stream. It's all on my Twitch streams. It's all been archived through my YouTube channel. You can literally watch every minute that I've done in my pilot's life career. So it's taken me a long time to do even just 5 schedules. It took me like a year and a half to do 5 schedules. If you have the time, you can get through them a lot quicker. And you don't have to do them. You can do them whenever you're ready. You can go fly something else while you're not. There's a neat feature of a pilot's life that there's a couple neat features that I don't really demonstrate, but one thing is you can skip individual legs. So you can, I believe you have to pay for it, so you have to earn a little bit of money first, but then you can pay to skip a leg. And you can also pay to create extra special bonus legs that called vacation legs, vacation tickets. So you buy a ticket and you can fly that flight, whatever flight you want. Anywhere you want, in the world. Doesn't have to conform to your schedule that was generated. So there's some neat stuff you can do with it. But yeah, I totally think it's worth it. I've really had fun trying to fly those schedules, trying to meet those schedules, and it kind of gives you something to do too. Because I think, how many times have you sat down in front of the sim and it took you half an hour to figure out, okay, what am I going to fly today? And it's half an hour before you even load up an airport and an airplane because you're like, I don't know what I want to fly. Do I want to fly to this airport? Do I want to go there? There's some ATC here, there. So it takes me, it kind of takes the randomness out of it. It takes the need for you to decide. It's given to you. It's assigned to you. Here is your flights. Do them. I would show you the flights, but this is actually the different computer than what my sim is on. So, is PackX different? Yes, PackX is very different. PackX, it doesn't. Okay. the first thing is PACX doesn't assign you the flights, so you just tell it what flight you're planning to fly, and it will rate you on those flights. It's really not like a career system so much as it's kind of like just a flight rating system, if you will. So PACX, you tell it when and where you want to fly, so you assign the flights. It's not the flights are assigned to you, so you tell it what you're flying, what route you're flying, what aircraft you're flying. And then it just basically loads passengers and simulates their happiness. So I actually do have PACX. I've used it. I'm not a big fan of it. I thought it was going to be a bit more interactive than it was, perhaps. But basically, you get kind of rated for each flight. And so yeah, you can have a career, and it tracks your overall average rating across all these flights, and whether or not you're doing good for your airline and your company by how much people generally are satisfied with your flights. But based on things like did you have time for meal service, did you make announcements, but more importantly, were you on time? So how did you leave the gate at the scheduled time? Did you arrive on time? So you set, and the thing is, you set these parameters ahead of time. You say what time you're planning to depart. You say how long your flight's supposed to be, and then PACX just measures, did you meet that departure time? Did you meet the arrival time? And then there's other things along the way as well, like you can make PAs, and that'll make some people happy to have PAs, but if you make too many PAs, then the business people will get unhappy. So it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting challenge. It's trying to balance, trying to make people happy as they're flying in your airplane, trying to be on time, and you can hear the people boarding and deboarding. It's kind of fun, but it's not as much fun as a pilot's life. A pilot's life really, to me, is more the pilot end of things. Like, generally taking care of the passengers, the biggest thing for a pilot is being on time, is getting the flight done on time. Obviously, safety first, obviously, but then being on time is usually the biggest thing the passengers care about from the pilots, and that's the end of it. So yeah, for me, more the challenge of trying to meet that schedule in a pilot's life, I think is more fun. I've installed PACX, I've used it a bunch of times, but I don't find myself going out of my way to use it, if that makes any sense. If I think about loading it, I might run it on a certain flight, but I don't run it religiously every flight because I didn't enjoy it as much. I hate to say it, but it just wasn't my thing. All right, is this guy ready to go yet? No, not yet. We have one other airplane in our airspace here, but he's VFR. He's squawking 1200. He's VFR, and he's flying at 10,500. So obviously he knows he's VFR. Not much to do here. Actually, Saskatoon, is that I'm trying to remember if that terminal unit goes up to 10,500. So just bear with me a second here. I'm just trying to find it here. Trying to find some information here. No, it's not a terminal control unit, so he doesn't have to call me to fly through it. Yeah, okay. The only Class C terminal in the Winnipeg airspace is Winnipeg itself, and then I think Moose Jaw as well, actually. But Saskatoon itself is not, so he can fly through there. If he wants to talk to me, he can, but this guy's not obligated to. Too bad. Nope, there's our Canada 4172. Pushing back from the gate without talking to anybody, so let's... And I can't even tell if the audio for VATSIM's working. I assume it's working at this point, but I don't know. I might just check the settings here in a second. I'll see if he calls first. I'll give him another minute or so, see if he calls. But this is why you got to kind of watch on the ground to see if these guys are going to call or not. Alright, I'm just going to check the settings really quickly here. Yep, no, that's set up correctly. Only one airplane. I want to talk to him. I don't want him to get away without talking to him. Let's see here. I was just talking about whether or not my audio for VATSIM is working. I know I can see it's working in the stream. I can see I have, what's it called? I have like an audio monitor for the stream, but I don't have one to actually see if the audio for VATSIM system's working. When I was picking my VA, yeah, when you're talking about like when I was picking SkyWest and all those, right? Like that was part of a pilot's life. I wish I could show you the screens right now, but it's on my other computer. It's on my flight sim computer. I'm not on the flight sim computer on this right now. So that was, yeah, the fact that I switched from WestJet to SkyWest, that was done through a pilot's life. All right, come on, one airplane. Oh.
Winnipeg Center, this is a test from Air Canada 4172.
Air Canada 4172, Winnipeg, read you 5.
Clearance delivery IFR from Winnipeg to Denver.
Air Canada 4172, Winnipeg, you're cleared to Denver via the Vogig 2 departure and Vectors 2 GOSAR flight plan route. Depart runway 31, squawk code 0675.
Depart runway 31, squawk 0675, Air Canada 4172.
Air Canada 4172, confirm the Vogig 2 departure.
Confirm, Vogig 2 departure.
Air Canada 4172, the readback is all correct. Information is Alpha. And are you ready to taxi now, or do you need a minute?
I need a minute to change the departure.
Very good. Let me know when you're ready for taxi.
Can you confirm that, confirm that squawk again?
Sure, Air Canada 4172, squawk 0675.
0675. Thank you very much, Air Canada.
Gotcha. Alright, so there it goes. Push back from the gate. Runway 31. Alright, one airplane. Hopefully we get more than one. Got 30 points doing Montreal to Edmonton this morning. The CRJ and MSFS trying to envoy MSFS. Yeah, I was thinking about Envoy as one of the places to join on my pilot's life career. You know, the real VAs can be fun. It depends on what you kind of want to get out of them, and that's one thing. Like each VA is different, and some VAs are good for some people. Some are not. You know, it depends on what you want to do. You strike me as someone who's pretty dedicated and spends quite a bit of time on the network, so maybe the VAs would be good for you. For me, I didn't have a whole lot of time to dedicate. That's why I'm part of Canadian Express. It's a pretty easygoing airline. You have to fly like once every like 90 days, and that's it. And then there's no rules about you have to fly these flights or these routes. The only restrictions are you only get certain aircraft until you start ranking up. So, you know, at the beginning you're only flying the light aircraft, and then as you build up your hours, you rank up through and have access to bigger and bigger airplanes. But that's about the only restriction. Otherwise, it's very free.
Center Air Canada 4172, ready to taxi.
Air Canada 4172, information is Alpha, altimeter 2954, taxi for runway 31 via Echo and Hotel Charlie, hold short 31.
Taxi 31 Echo Hotel Charlie, holding short, and information Alpha is correct, 2954, Air Canada 4172.
Reg. Yes. Okay. CXA 721. Yeah. See, and so that, like, to me, Canadian Express is fun, but it's very low key. You know, there's no big requirement to spend a lot of time doing specific flights. You know, someone was telling me that, like, you know, they're part of Virtual Air Canada, and Virtual Air Canada is very strict to the real world schedules. You can only fly the real world schedules with the real world types of aircraft, and you know, only one person can fly that schedule per week, that flight per week. So if somebody else has already taken it and flown it, then you don't get to fly it as well. So it's very very stringent like that. Some people like that, you know. Then you get that sense of mission of we're trying to cover all the flights in the network, and I kind of I get that, but that's not me. I don't have the time to dedicate to doing that, so I tend to like something a little freer like Canadian Express. It's you know, and Canadian Express has some fun stuff actually. Canadian Express, I'll say, is good. They've got a fairly active membership. They've got a good, they've got some good events going, regular events. They're an airline that's always kind of putting stuff together. They're repainting lots of airplanes now for MSFS. No, in Pilot's Life, no, you don't have to start as a GA. So Pilot's Life, no, it's strictly an airline career. It's whenever you apply for your first airline job. No, Canadian Express, you have to start flying little GA airplanes, but that's not part of a Pilot's Life. That's just a separate VA online. No, as a Pilot's Life, no, it's just you start, entry level. The only thing about a pilot's life that kind of limits you in the beginning is when you don't have much experience, you're usually limited to the lower end airlines. Every airline in a pilot's life gets a 5-star rating. The 1-star are your little tiny regionals, your piston powered scheduled companies, things like that. And then you get all the way up to 3 stars might be like, I think SkyWest was 3 stars. So like SkyWest is kind of like not the ultra great, but like kind of mid-level regional. You'd be happy to kind of work here for a lifetime kind of company if you had to. Some people would want to move on. And then like the 5 stars, like the ultimate, like the British Airways and the Cathay, those are the ones. So you can maybe get a job with those ones early on. If you're lucky, it's kind of a little bit of random chance, but you're most likely to get jobs with the lower end carriers in a pilot's life in the beginning. And then as you build up your experience, you can apply, and the higher your experience level, the more likely you're going to get hired by a better airline. Yeah, the thing is, like, the way my life is set up, I can't even guarantee I'm going to have a time to fly every 7 days. So it's I see the appeal of Virtual Air Canada. I just don't. My schedule's too random all over the place. I can't commit to being able to fly the flights like that. So, you know what? For some people, it's great. It's what they want, and I'm not trying to disparage it. That's it's a fun way to run an airline to try and really cover the realistic routes and not double them up. But that's just not me. I'm a little bit more. A lot of time I don't know how much time I'm going to have, so I kind of have to pick something based on the time I have when I sit down. I don't know until I sit down how much time I'm going to have to fly. So different people will enjoy different things. That's one of the things I love about this hobby is it's very... Oh, we got a second airplane logged in. Nice. Different people will like different things, and the hobby has tons of different organizations to appeal to different people. So, if you don't like live ATC, there's artificial AI traffic packs. There's different levels of virtual airlines. If you want to be the air traffic controller, you can join VATSIM, and then there's 2 different networks. There's VATSIM and IVEO. Like you can kind of pick what you like, what works for you. So I'm not going to say what works for me works for everybody else. We do have one guy flying into our airspace down here, so. Air Canada 271, are you on frequency? Let's get him to contact us. And then this might be the Sunwing here. Yeah, that's Sunwing 121 who's also inbound to Winnipeg, so we'll have some arrivals before too long. It's not going to be super smoking busy tonight, but that just leaves me more time to chat and answer questions you guys have, so. Waiting to see this guy file a flight plan. He's got no flight plan yet, but that's okay. No biggie. It's one of those things about VATSIM, like it can look quiet, but you log in at the right time. People are looking for a place to fly. They see you online. They'll give you some traffic. I've always loved that about VATSIM. I apologize for the bad lighting. The lighting in this room is terrible. And then I do have another light I could try to turn on, but it's ridiculously bright and it just shines in my face essentially. So I was experimenting with it and I don't think I can deal with it. It's shining in my face while I'm trying to control. Yeah, there's not a lot of good ambient light in this room. There's one overhead light. I do not live in a production studio, unfortunately. You want to fly tonight, want to do Vancouver and Winnipeg, you go in the bidding system and you have 7 days worth of... Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, it's just not my thing. But I mean, it's other people will enjoy it. We'll get that thing. I know Iveo is just another network just like VATSIM. It's just sort of the parallel network. It was established, I think, a little bit after VATSIM, but basically people who didn't like the way VATSIM was being run and they decided to set up their own separate network. Yeah, I know. You'll find the flights you want. I don't know. I'm enjoying the way I've got my Pilot's Life career set up now. And then if I do want to participate, the nice thing about Canadian Express too that I really kind of like is they've got, besides the nice airplanes, is they've got some really nice tours, some really fun, creative tours that are just sort of give you a real sense of accomplishment. Air Canada 4172, contact me once you're airborne. Winds 260, 13 gust 22, clear for takeoff, runway 31.
Runway 31, clear for takeoff, Air Canada 4172.
So they've organized a couple different tours that are really kind of fun. There's the Orbex Freeware Airport Tour, which basically it was like 146 legs or something like that. Like just visit almost every airport that is available as part of Orbex's like Freeware Airport package in North America. Or not in North America, just in Canada actually. And it's like 146 legs. Actually, it started in Alaska, and then it went all through, but it didn't go down into like the main part of the U.S., but it started in Alaska and then kind of went across the northern part of Canada and then all the way back down the east coast through Ontario up into the prairies, like just, a lot of like very small airports, but it's kind of fun, so you have to kind of pick an airplane that's going to work for the different leg lengths. Some of them are really long leg lengths, like there's one, like you end up going to Alert at one point, which is a really long, bloody flight. But it's a really neat kind of way to do it. Like it kind of nice, it's kind of mission. And that's not the only one. They've got a ton of nice tours. They have one that they did where they visited all the capital cities in Canada for Canada's 150th birthday. They have a neat one now called the Mayday Tour, where you repeat the flights, a bunch of flights from a bunch of different episodes of the Air Crash Investigations, the Mayday series. That's kind of fun. We've done a couple of those. Haven't finished too many, but there's some really fun tours. And again, there's no requirement to do them. They're just offered as a fun thing to do, and I enjoy them because you get like a nice sense of accomplishment from actually having done enough of these legs to actually finish them. Air Canada 271 Winnipeg, are you here? So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like Canadian Express is a good airline for me. It's kind of very low key. I can fly with it when I want to, but if I get busy and I don't have time for a period of time, it doesn't affect me too much. So. Waiting for him to call. Any second now. Air Canada 4172, say passing altitude. Where's he going? Air Canada 4172 Winnipeg, say passing altitude.
4172, standby. I'm having some control issues.
4172, roger. I guess the turn was not intentional. Oh, my other airplane logged off. Ah, poop. It's okay, we got our inbounds here.
Winnipeg Citadel, Air Canada 4172, with you at 5,500, climbing for 340.
Air Canada 4172, you are identified in the future. The VOGIG 2 departure does state to maintain 4,000 until advised otherwise. You can now climb flight level 230.
Climbing 230 for 4172.
And Air Canada 4172, turn left direct to Gosar on course.
Left Gosar, 4172.
Crutch. Alright. Well, we got one airplane anyways. But we got two more here. I don't know why this Air Canada's not calling me yet. Canada 271, and this Sunwing guy is going to start down here real soon. Actually, if I zoom out enough here, I can see him. There he is. He's still 70 miles back from the boundary. But Minneapolis is not online, so I might get him to call me in a minute here. Sunwing 121 Winnipeg. Sunwing 121 Winnipeg, are you here? Nope, guess not. Air Canada 271, are you here? Well, get him to call me anyways because he's going to start down soon. We can start getting him set up for his arrival. We got one inbound to Thunder Bay here as well. Ooh, good stuff. Thunder Bay just falls into our section here, so we'll pull up the weather. See what we're doing in Thunder Bay. Looks like runway 25 into Thunder Bay. So this guy right here, Charlie Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, it's a Cessna Citation. That's the CJ4. Heading to Thunder Bay. Nice. Where did he come from? Came off Sudbury going to Thunder Bay. So we're going to have a few airplanes tonight. It's not terribly busy, but we've got at least a few airplanes here. Maybe it'll get a little busier if we stay on.
Good evening, Winnipeg Center. It is Sunwing 121 with you, flight level 360, 75 south of Jovan.
Sunwing 121 Winnipeg Center, good evening. Squawk code 0637.
0637 for Sunwing 121.
Just wait to see the squawk code go away here. Sorry, I wasn't reading the stream chat for a minute there. Now I'm actually focused on actually doing some things. He's getting there. Sunwing 121 Winnipeg, thank you. You are identified, flight level 360. Welcome. Information in Winnipeg is Alpha, runway 31 for arrival this evening.
Okay, sir, I do have Alpha on board and copy 31 for the arrival into Winnipeg this evening.
Sunwing 121, that's all correct. And I'll have a descent for you in just a couple minutes here.
No worries, sir. Standing by. Sunwing 121.
Let's just see here. Restrictions going to be at below 11 at NORAC. So he's got to lose about 25, 75. Yeah, probably by about the time he crossed the boundary here. Air Canada 4172, continue climb, flight level 340.
340 for 4172.
All right. Yeah, and now POSCON. Yeah, the Air Inuit Tour. Yeah, I did actually. I never finished it, but I started the float tour in the Canadian Express float tour out in the West Coast. That was a lot of fun. I visited a lot of little tiny harbors, so that was tons of fun. I'm about 3/4 of the way done the Orbex tour, and that also was one that really made me visit a ton of small airports I would never visited otherwise, especially all through like the northern parts of Canada, coming down the Mackenzie River Valley and then going all the way back up to Alert. That was tons of fun. There was one point where I had to get into a little airport. I can't remember what one it was, and I missed it was not a great. It's not a great airport. Like the minimums are like 900 feet, and the clouds were so low, and I had to divert. And the closest airport was like an hour and a half, so I added like an hour and a half to my flight going back to diverting to another airport, and then came back another day to finish this flight. So it was tons of fun, though. Yeah, the Orbex tour took me to tons of places I would never have thought of going. So that was lots of fun. Yeah, Mayday flight. Yeah. You don't have to fly the Canadian Express flights on the VATSIM network. I think it's more fun, and most people do tend to fly them on the VATSIM network, but you don't have to fly them on the VATSIM network. So yes, there is perhaps a little bit of conflict between the VATSIM COC and the Mayday Tour, but really there isn't, because you're not going to fly the call signs. You're not going to fly the call signs that of the actual accident flights. So you're not going to fly, like, you know, just trying to think of like one like United 272 or you know, Cactus 1549 or any of those. You know, you're not going to fly those call signs. You're just going to fly under your Canadian Express call sign, which is a dedicated flight number for each person. So mine's 472, so I had to fly them under Canadian Express 472. You just simply flew the route, so it just sort of, it was interesting because it kind of you just got to see the routes that these various aircraft flew. So I enjoyed it. We've only done a handful of legs, but it's kind of fun. It's a neat theme for an air tour, anyways, is to fly different, you know, flights that obviously did not end well in the real world, but we talked about them then. We talked about what happened on those flights and what the implications for them. Do I look at the pilot ratings? I do sometimes. I really don't let it affect too much. Oh, we got Winnipeg arrival on here. So we got an arrival controller on. So I'm going to take my ATIS offline. And I might put it up somewhere else. Okay, so we got an arrival controller online. You can see this red box popped up here now, which means that there's another controller here. That's the boundary of his control, so I have to keep an eye out and keep these people moving. So I'll have to hand them off, but what I will probably do is add his, because we don't have much traffic going on, I will listen on his frequency as well. So even when I switch this guy over, you'll hear what's going on his frequency. And let's see here. Is this guy ever going to call us here? So I guess Thunder Bay would be a good place to put an ATIS up now, since we got an airplane inbound there. So I'm just doing that right now. Give me 1 second while I just select the active runway, which is going to be 25, and put that up. Good. Sunwing 121 Winnipeg, when ready, descend flight level 240.
Okay, sir, Sunwing 240, I'm going to actually start setting down now for flight level 240, Sunwing 121.
121, Reg. So do I look at pilot ratings? I don't normally look at pilot ratings. I will if I really am concerned with somebody. To me, it's more a point of interest, and I might let it, if I have something unusual to ask, I may look and see if someone's an experienced pilot, if they don't have a pilot rating or not. But 99% of the time, it doesn't affect the way I handle people. What affects the way I handle people as a controller more is how they act, how they react on the network. So if someone is obviously knowledgeable, I'll treat them as such. If somebody is obviously sounds nervous, is not using correct phraseology, is not following the procedures correctly, I'll assume that they're probably a new person, and I'll help guide them along and perhaps give them a little more room. But that's really how I decide how I treat people. I don't look at the pilot rating and say, well, you're a P3, you must know what you're doing all the time. I treat everyone more or less the same to start, and then I adapt how I treat people based on what I see and what I hear more than anything. And if they sound like they know what they're doing, I'll treat them like they know what they're doing. If they sound like they don't, I'll take it a little easier. I'll go a little slower. Tim, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Winnipeg Center. No busier place in Canada, that's for sure. Doing the various tours will force you to practice different RNAV approaches, especially if you visit these small places in northern Canada. I had a lot of fun doing that Orbex tour. Tons of fun places, and if you've got the Orbex scenery installed, the airports don't look half bad. They're not like fantastic like FS Dream Team, Chicago O'Hare, or anything like that, but they're better than the basics. They'll have a few buildings that will be customized. They'll have a little bit of traffic. They'll look better than just a totally default airport. So it's kind of fun. I always liked that tour. All right, Lucas. Sorry to see you go, but thanks for watching, and hopefully next Friday we can get that flight into Chicago. That was a little frustrating the other night, but and that question that you did ask me, I'll answer it the next time we do that stream because I think it's going to be relevant. Lucas had asked because I had a little issue. I tried to do a Twitch stream on Friday night, and I had a little issue with the CRJ, just with the control system. It basically did not want to. The throttle controls just did not want to move. Of course, I didn't realize that until I tried to move them after I'd been online for 45 minutes. I set up the whole thing, and I started the engines, pushed back from the gate, sent the tug away, and I was just getting ready to push the power up and try to taxi. And that's when I discovered that the thrust levers would not move. That the sim was indicating they were moving, but the CRJ would not recognize that they were moving whatsoever. For whatever reason, they became disconnected, and I couldn't get them to work, and it was very frustrating. So I killed the stream right then and there because I wasn't gonna reload the sim and start the whole stream from scratch after 45 minutes of setting up. It just I think most of you who do flight sim have been there. Just like I just don't have the time to deal with it. I just if it fails like that, I'm just not going to deal with it. So, so I'm gonna have to redo that leg at some point. But so Lucas asked the question then of me in chat the other day, how often do mechanical issues actually cancel flights? And the answer is not really that often. Most of the time, mechanical issues are usually fairly minor to deal with, so it's not too often they actually lead to something being canceled. It's not to say it'll never happen, but again, it's just not very common. I'm just looking at this here. Sunwing 121, continue descent 10, 10,000, the Winnipeg altimeter. I lost it, stand by. Winnipeg altimeter for you, 2954.
Way down at 10,000 and altimeter 2954 for Sunwing 121.
Roger. Air Canada 4172, leaving my airspace to the south, and Minneapolis is not online. Surveillance service terminates, and you can change the en route frequency. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for the control, and you have yourself a great night as well.
Thank you. So how often do they really cancel flights for mechanical issues? I mean, it won't say, yeah, unless you're Air Georgian and operating in 1900. Yes, Josh, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, in the real world, I mean, I won't say it never happens. It does happen, but it's not that often. Most of the time, a lot of the faults are usually pretty minor. A lot of times it's just, especially nowadays, most of the airliners people fly in are actually just giant, huge computers that actually just happen to have a pair of wings attached to them and a couple of seats in the back. So more often than not, the easiest way to resolve an issue is to reboot the aircraft. Just start again, because if the systems don't talk to each other in the right order, something goes out of order. Oftentimes, that's what will set off an issue. So and the more modern and the more electronic the airline, the more often the airliner, the more common this happens. Is just reboot it, reset the system, and see if it comes up a second time. Because oftentimes it's just something wasn't quite ready, or a sensor wasn't quite ready, and so because the sensor wasn't there, the pre-flight test didn't pass, and all that stuff. Even when there are things, a lot of stuff is very simple. Like the airliners are designed to be maintained, things replaced pretty quickly on the line if things go wrong. So I mean, you're not going to replace the landing gear on the line, but a lot of modules can be easily removed and replaced in like 20 or 30 minutes. So it's not to say they won't cancel a flight. It depends on so many other factors as well. So usually maintenance is not the one that decides to cancel a flight in the aviation industry. It's usually most of the airlines will have some sort of operational commercial operations manager, and the commercial operations manager will have to make those choices. So they'll look at how many people are on the flight. They'll look at, is there another flight that these people can be switched to? So depending on the route, some routes only operate once a day, some routes operate 15 times a day. If there's 15 times a day and there's some seats left on the next flight, and the next flight's only in half an hour anyways, you might as well move the people onto that flight and cancel this flight. So like the example is the Toronto-Montreal corridor. There's basically a flight every hour between like 6 a.m. and midnight. So like 16 flights a day on that corridor. So if they cancel one, it's usually not a big deal. But that being said, there's lots of traffic on that corridor, so they have to look and say, is there enough room on the remaining flights to handle this? And they may have to switch airplanes. They may have to upgauge to a bigger airplane if there's too many passengers and this displaces too many people. So they may need to keep these flights just because they have that many people booked. The other thing, of course, what they'll look at is what is the impact of delaying this flight for maintenance. Is there another plane? If this is something pretty important, is there another plane? Most airlines will usually have one operational spare, depending, and again, depends on how many different airplane types they have and how busy the base is, but a lot of places they'll have an operational spare, so they may switch you to another airplane, or they may have an airplane that has a little bit of a gap in its day that they can switch you to and try and get you on that. But the second they start doing that, it starts having implications down the road. How many, if you're delayed as a crew, are you going to have enough time in the rest of your day to finish this before you run out of your max duty day? The other people who have to take over that airplane next from you, are they going to be delayed? Because you showed up late, so that next flight that they were supposed to take, there are not airplanes just sitting around most of the time. In the pandemic, there's airplanes sitting around, but most of the time, there's not just airplanes sitting around. So, you have to, they have to weigh, can we take this delay? Can we absorb this delay in the schedule? The way schedules were 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, there was very little wiggle room in the schedules. The flights all had to go. They had to stay within the scheduled limit. Once they get to about 30 minutes, that's when it already is starting to cut into the next flight. And then you're really looking at, do we have enough room to just absorb this delay, or do we just have to cancel something? So there's tons of stuff that really goes into canceling a flight. The airlines don't like to do it, but they look at the overall picture. It's like, what kind of impact will it have if we cancel this flight? Can we move people to another flight? Is there another flight today that we can move people to? What kind of a delay are we looking at? Is it a 20-minute delay for maintenance? Is it an hour and 20 minutes? Is it a 4-hour delay? All these kind of things. They don't want to cancel flights. If they do, it's because there's too much other stuff going on that they couldn't lose that one airplane to downtime, or they couldn't replace the airplane. Sometimes you'll have multiple things go wrong in a day. You'll have multiple airplanes break in a day, and then that one operational spare got taken, and now you're out of operational spares. So now you're really kind of in a bad place. So it doesn't happen every day, but then when it does, it seems to all happen at the same time. All the planes break at the same time. This guy still has not called me, has he? Still waiting for this guy to call here. That's the new ATIS in Thunder Bay. Certainly sent him enough chats. He should be seeing something soon. Nope. And his eventual solution was to log off. That is not a useful solution. Sunwing 121, contact Winnipeg approach, correction, Winnipeg arrival on 119.5.
Winnipeg arrival 119.
And Sunwing 121, you cut out at the end of the transmission. Just confirm 119.5.
Forward to 119.5 for Sunwing 121.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, sir.
And then I've got no airplanes left. That reminds me that I should grab this guy's ATIS. There we go. Oh, this guy's text only. Air Canada 271, center with you. I apologize about that. No problem, just wanted to talk to you eventually. Please, squawk.
Cleveland Winnipeg arrival, it's Sunwing 121 with you, about 20 east of NORAC for 10,000 feet.
Sunwing 121 Winnipeg arrival, hello, it is Bravo current, pound 30 ILS or an 831, you get to send 6,000.
Put it down to 6,000 for Sunwing 121.
Vincent, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night. Hopefully we'll catch you again next time. Hopefully a little bit more activity next time. But the nice thing about these quiet streams is that it gives us lots of time to talk about anything else you guys want to talk about. Unfortunately now we've just got, well, now we're back to our one airplane here. Oops, and I sent that message to the wrong airplane. The only problem with Air Canada 271 Winnipeg, I've got you 5, squawk code 0636 please. Yeah, so at least we got one airplane now, and then pretty much the time we hand him off to the Winnipeg approach controller, we'll hopefully get this Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo guy here, who is probably this guy up here. Yeah, it's got to be this guy up here at 4,000, or at 40,000 I should say. Air Canada 271, thank you very much. You are identified flight level 360. Information in Winnipeg is now Bravo. You can plan runway 31 in Winnipeg.
We're flying 31 and we've got Bravo on board at 271.
271, Raj. Alright, so he's direct GoVit for the NORAC 2 as well. Perfect, yep. Not a whole lot of obstructions out here. That's one thing about places like Winnipeg where there's not a whole lot of challenging airspace around them. The SIDS and stars end up being pretty straight in, straight out. YouTube, why are you giving me an error? We are not receiving enough video. Okay. Well, we got one airplane there. I guess the other thing we can start doing at this point is start opening up some more screens for the Thunder Bay arrivals. So let me just do this. Alright, so I don't even have any views set up yet for Thunder Bay, so let's do it now. There's Thunder Bay. So there's Thunder Bay, and let's see if we can pull up some more stuff than just a little. So let's see here. Do we have stars in Thunder Bay now? I think we do. We never used to. And let's see if I have the RNAV Yankee here. Even with the curved approach drawn in there pretty nicely, I like it. like it. I guess there's nothing much else here. I know there's terrain south of the field, but there's not much showing on there. I don't know if there's anything else to draw on there, really. No, that's the old ground stuff. I guess that's about it. The other thing you can draw on there is you can draw geography. No, nothing? Really? No, no geography whatsoever. Oh well. Anyways, that's Thunder Bay. Also a fairly simple terminal unit. And then we can bring up, let's see here, bring that back up again. And bring that back up again. Once again, the runway numbers are in there. I gotta get rid of those runway numbers again. They're just too big. There we go. There's the Sunwing. Just gonna check my VAT spines.
121, descend 4,000.
See if anything else is happening here. We got
We're down to 4,000 now for Sunwing 121.
somebody filing Regina, I think, here. I could probably put some of the fixes up there as well to help complete my Thunder Bay arrival chart here. Alright, so let's see. B-Rob is the final approach fix. We've got Vfr and Urquhart. So let's put some fixes up. Some useful fixes. So sometimes you have to kind of just customize your own views here. They don't always come with everything. Alright, so I need Canev. I need B-Rob. There it is. And a B-Rob, Kill Gabber, Eb, Kill. It's funny, some of these names really bring back. I haven't been to Thunder Bay in a long time, but I'm starting to take a little walk down your lane now. And then RNF Yankee, Vfr, and Red. So Vfr. And the nice thing is that then this will be ready for any other future arrivals as well. That's why I'm kind of doing this right now, is I'm trying to set up a good view that'll be ready for whatever arrivals I might have in the future for Thunder Bay. So now I've got some of the arrival fixes there. Oh, and then I said Facet as well. Facet for the missed approach point for runway 25. Facet, there it is. There we go, that's the missed approach hold point. So if they have to do a missed approach, that's where they'll hold, hopefully. So he should need about 75 miles to descend, so he should, if I give him his clearance as he sort of passes this point right here, it should be good. And how's that? Might as well ping this guy now. He's got about 50 miles till he enters my airspace. Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, Winnipeg, are you here?
Swimming 121, continue to descend 3,000 and via Musa, be clear for the Alice 181 approach.
Clear down 3,000 via Musif, to the ILS for 3-1. Sunwing 121.
Well, not a whole ton of stuff happening, but again, if anybody wants to fly, I got I got airports. I got an airplane on the ground here in Regina. I didn't even notice that. There we go. Air Canada 427's on the ground in Regina. Let's have a look here. It's going over to
Winnipeg Center Citation, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, Winnipeg Center. Good evening. Squawk code 0644.
Squawk 0644, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
How far back from Thunder Bay is he? He's about 140 back, so he's going to need to start down soon anyway, so it's probably a good thing I'm getting a hold of him now. We can handle his descent clearance into Thunder Bay here. And then we got to also worry about this Air Canada 427. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll pull up some weather for Regina here. Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo Winnipeg identified flight level 400. Welcome. Information in Thunder Bay is Foxtrot. You can plan runway 25.
Okay, we'll pick up Foxtrot and plan runway 25 for Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, thank you. And when you're able, just advise which approach you'd like for runway 25.
We'll take the RNAV Zulu if possible, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, plan the RNAV Zulu.
Plan RNAV Zulu, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Alright, so I'll just make sure I know here. He's going to transition at CANAV, I believe, on this one.
Winnipeg Centre, good evening. Air Canada 427, Regina Gate 11, requesting IFR clearance to Winnipeg, please.
Air Canada 427, Winnipeg Centre, good evening. Standby 1. Alright, so I just need to look at his flight plan here. Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo, when ready, descend flight level 240.
When ready, descend flight level 240, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
So I just need to decide an active runway here for Regina. 330 at 8, so runway 31, which I believe is the good runway anyways for him. I believe that's the longer runway in Regina. It is. Okay, good.
And Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo leading flight level 400 for 240 now.
Lima Whiskey Romeo, roger. Air Canada 427, I have your clearance. You ready to copy?
Ready to copy, Air Canada 427.
Air Canada 427, you're cleared to Winnipeg via the Regina 2 departure. Radar vectors to YDR and flight plan route. Depart runway 31, squawk code 0634. I don't know what YDR is. I just realized that as I'm sitting there looking at it.
Clear to Winnipeg, Regina 2
Broadview.
departure. Vectors to YRD flight plan route and runway 31, squawk 0634.
Air Canada 427, the readback is all correct. Let's see here, the winds in Regina right now are showing 330 at 8 and the altimeter is 2965. Otherwise, CAV okay. Push back and start up at your discretion. Call ready for taxi.
7, clear to land 31.
Altimeter is 2965.
Clear land 31 for Sunwing 121.
Air Canada 271 Winnipeg, when ready, descend flight level 240.
240 again, 371.
And Air Canada 271, I can't remember if I gave it to you, but it is information Bravo and plan runway 31.
Yep, we got it, Bravo and 31.
Gotcha. Better to give it twice than not at all. Alright, so he's starting down, and we're going to need another ground diagram in a minute now for Regina. There it is. Make sure I save all these changes I've made here. Alright, again, we're going to have to make a new terminal diagram. Add some more information here for runway 31. Let's see here. There's the stars.
121, working on Winnipeg, exit right on Alpha. You can contact ground 121.9, see you.
Oh my gosh, ground is on Winnipeg too.
Yes, sir, runway, off of the runway at Alpha, and I'll go over to ground on 121.9. Thanks, ATC. Take care, have yourself a good night.
Yep.
Should I pull up the ground frequency as well, just to give us something else to listen to? Well, who knew Winnipeg would be a busy sector? Not me. It's hit or miss. It's one of those places that's just hit or miss. I shouldn't make fun. It's hit or miss. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's just quiet. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it is on VATSIM in lots of places. Sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's quiet. You can't really control it. You never know what it's going to be like one night to the next. And you just hope for the best when you log on. You hope it's going to be a busy evening. It's going to be interesting.
And someone 121, are you with me?
Good evening, Winnipeg ground. It's Sunwing 121 with you off of runway 31 at Alpha. Looking for taxi to gate 7.
Sunwing 121, I believe you're still on my frequency. You can contact ground 121.9.
Oops, flip the switch.
My apologies, sir. I forgot to switch there.
No worries, it happens.
Good evening, Winnipeg ground. It's Sunwing 121 off of runway 31 at Alpha. Looking for taxi to gate 7 of the terminal.
And Sunwing 121 with this ground, welcome to Winnipeg. Sorry about that. You can text via Alpha, across runway 18, Papa, Foxtrot, then Whiskey 8 for your discretion.
Okay, sir, that'll be Alpha across 18, Papa, Foxtrot, Whiskey, and then apron my discretion for Sunwing 121.
Sunwing 121, correction, actually after Foxtrot you can take Kilo Lima to the gate.
Alright, so that's Regina.
Okay, sir, I'll amend that.
Might pull up
to,
some fixes
Alpha,
on there so that the next time I have someone come in for Regina, I've got everything I need.
Kilo Lima,
So,
and then to the gate.
Let's see what I've got here.
Roger.
For runway 31, we got the RNAV Zulu and the RNAV Yankee. So Rossley, Mouvan, Cheps. So Rossley, Mouvan, and Cheps. So I'm just trying to turn on some useful fixes here. Again, it's just when you're working large sectors like this, it's as much about planning for the future, being ready for when it does get busy. It's not busy tonight, but you can always get ready for those times when it will be busy. So there's a few. And then Igvex, Radip, Vex and Radip. Let's see here. Vex. Radip. And then Cebix Vertex. C-dip. Why can't I find it? dip or is this CBEX? That's why, because I'm looking for the wrong fix. There we go. Now we got our initial fixes for all of our approaches drawn there. Nice. Okay, perfect. Lima Whiskey Romeo, continue descent 10,000, Thunder Bay altimeter 2954.
254, continue descent 10,000, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Air Canada 271, continue descent 10,000, Winnipeg altimeter 2956.
10,000, Air Canada 271.
And Lima Whiskey Romeo, Winnipeg, would you like the shortcut direct to Canev?
Let's do it, direct Canada, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
You got it, Lima Whiskey Romeo, proceed direct Canev.
Direct Canada, Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Sometimes you're not sure with these guys if they want the shortcut or not because it could be a challenge with the different FMCs and different capabilities of different aircraft. So some people, they want to fly the filed route because it's hard to go direct to somewhere in the middle, especially with Microsoft Flight Simulator age. But I do my best to try and get people to where they need to go as quickly as we can. And looks like the Air Canada 427's pushed back and ready to go here. Good stuff. These runway numbers are just too big. What does he have across Canada at? Pulling up the chart here to remember what he has to cross Canada at. I haven't done this approach in Docs age. Minimum altitude for crossing Canev. Recommended 3,400. Minimum's 2,000. Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo. Continue descent 3,000.
Continue descent 3,000, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Winnipeg Centre, Air Canada 427 is ready for taxi.
Air Canada 427, runway 31. The Regina winds showing 3308, altimeter 2965. Taxi apron at your discretion. Alpha, hold short, runway 31.
Altimeter is 2965, apron at discretion, and Alpha, and we'll hold short, runway 31, Air Canada 427.
Roger. And Lima Whiskey Romeo, amend your descent altitude, descend 3,400.
Okay, descend 3,400, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Because I looked at the charts and that's the minimum altitude you can go to, so. Without knowing where the terrain is, specifically that he has to avoid, that's the point he has to go to. That's the altitude he has to go to, so. It ended up being a much busier evening than I expected, though. I did not have a lot of faith early on that it was going to be busy. And it's turned out pretty nice. Pretty steady set of traffic here anyways. Pity these guys logged on and took some of my business here, the Winnipeg arrival on Winnipeg ground, but that's okay. The more the merrier. It makes it more fun that way anyways. Let's see here. Turn those runway numbers off on this view as well. Not very long taxi out in Regina, that's for sure. I'm surprised. All these airplanes that are bombing back and forth between Edmonton and Calgary, and not one of them is coming over this direction. .320, he should be ready pretty quick. Only thing probably has to wait on is the back end. Air Canada 427 Winnipeg, are you ready?
We're ready, Air Canada 47.
Air Canada 427, contact me airborne, winds 330 at 8, clear for takeoff, runway 31.
We'll contact you on airborne, clear to take off, runway 31, Air Canada 47.
And then he's just got the short jaunt from Regina over to Winnipeg, 290 miles. Take him a little bit less than an hour. And then after those, I don't see too much else happening unless somebody else logs in. So if you guys want to log in and fly, it'll be appreciated. Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo cleared Thunder Bay, RNAV Zulu runway 25, CANAV transition.
Lima Whiskey Romeo cleared Thunder Bay, RNAV Zulu runway 25 approach via the Canada transit.
Lima Whiskey Romeo Raj. Alright, so he's clear for his approach. This guy's going to be a handoff in just another couple miles here.
Winnipeg Centre, Air Canada 47, passing 3,700.
Air Canada 427, thank you. Identified, climb, flight level 330.
Climb flight level 330, Air Canada 47.
Air Canada 427, turn right, direct Broadview, Yankee Delta Romeo, on course.
Right, direct Broadview, Yankee Delta Romeo, on course, Air Canada 47.
I looked it up, so now I know what it is. But this is how you learn in VATSIM a lot of times. Like, you know, if you're a real world controller, you will study the maps of these areas insanely for like 2-3 years to learn them and learn them extremely well. On VATSIM, you've got to take, I hate to say shortcuts, but in terms of learning, you've got to take shortcuts because you can't learn all this stuff, especially when you're visiting multiple different stations. You can't learn all this stuff. You've just got to sort of do your best to learn as much as you can and make notes and you know, look at the charts whenever you're dealing with things you're unfamiliar with. So he'll start turning on course. There's not a whole lot going on in his neck of the woods, so that's fine. He's coming down through 8,000, setting up for his approach, looking good. I just want to see this guy get like 10 miles closer here. And I'll hand him off to the arrival controller. More airplanes than I think I saw last time I was on Winnipeg. I did Winnipeg like, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? And we saw 2 airplanes in like 3 hours. So already we're ahead of that one. Yes, I normally control. I won't say I control all over the map. It depends on when I have time available. I do tend to control in the evenings in this time frame from 0100 to 0400 Zulu. I'm often free during that time. But I also will sometimes control in the mornings or the early afternoons whenever I have free time. So I might try and do some controlling later this week during the morning or the early afternoons. But yeah, on the weekends I tend to control the evenings. Once my kids have gone to bed, that's when I get to have some fun. It depends though. It really does. And especially once I get back to work and my schedule becomes ever more irregular, I'll control whenever I have the time. Which makes for some pretty strange, random, unexpected times for controlling. But then it also will end up making for some very long controlling shifts. I've had like 8-hour shifts online, 6 to 8 hour shifts online when I didn't have a whole lot else going on for a day. Alright, what the heck, we'll hand this guy off to the arrival controller. Air Canada 271, contact Winnipeg arrival now, 119.5. Good day. Okay, no frequency readback, fine. I hope you got the right frequency. I guess he did.
271, Roger, it is Bravo, current plan for the ILS runway 31, you could descend 6,000.
ILS 31, and down to 6,000, Air Canada 271.
It's a little bit of a ways away, but he will be landing on 3-1 when he does get to Winnipeg eventually. Yeah, I haven't been to Thunder Bay for years now. I used to go to Thunder Bay a lot, but I guess I haven't been to Thunder Bay for probably 5 years now. At least 4 years anyways. I'm most curious now to look at my logbook and see the last time I did go to Thunder Bay. It has been a long time, that is for sure. I don't know exactly when it was, but it's been probably 4 years since I've been to Thunder Bay. I'm sure it's still there where I left it though. Yep, just a tiny bit over 4 years ago. Apparently the last time I went to Thunder Bay was May 12th of 2017, so it's been a little while. But like I said, I'm sure it's in the same place. I don't think they moved it. Alright, here comes the Air Canada 427. All he's got to do is make it from here to here. That's such a short distance. He'll be there in no time. Probably get rid of those Regina views in a minute now. That guy's taken off, gone pretty far away. Lima Whiskey Romeo Winnipeg, the Thunder Bay winds showing 220, 11 gust 17. Clear to land runway 25.
Copy the winds, clear to land 25, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
In another couple minutes here, we'll be back down to just one airplane again. We handed off the Air Canada 271. Lima Whiskey Romeo's about to land, and then we'll just have the Air Canada 427 on its way to Winnipeg. That Air Canada 4172 that took off an hour ago is about halfway to Denver. Just looking at VATSIM here. Not much else happening in Winnipeg tonight. There's even a tower controller. So there's ground tower arrival. Wow, Winnipeg is fully staffed. If you want some ATC tonight, guys, come to Winnipeg. I didn't even realize there's a tower, too. I'm going to pull up him on my AFV as well. Thunder Bay is a really interesting little airport too. There is a huge hill just like 2 miles south of town. Like really, it's not like really tall, but it's 1,000 feet tall. It's pretty darn tall.
4,000.
4,000.
Which is one of the reasons why there's no IFR departures off of runway. Oh, I can't remember what runway this is. Zoom in. Runway 12. There are no IFR departures allowed off runway 12 because there's a hill about 2 miles off the departure end, and it's 1,000 feet tall, so it's way too tall for you to depart. You can depart the other end. You can depart runway 30, and that's fine, but 12, you can't do it. Yeah, no, David, you're exactly right. It's a hit or miss FIR, and a lot of them are. A lot of places, even the busy places, are hit or miss if people just don't think there's going to be ATC at any particular time. There's a few airports around the world that will have a steady stream of traffic regardless of the day or night pointed at them. Like the New York, like the JFK, the LAX, the London Heathrow, Frankfurt, Boston comes into that list as well. I guess Hong Kong, Sydney, but like most places usually are pretty quiet, especially as it gets more towards the evening hours. This is, I would say, probably a pretty typical evening in Winnipeg. It's not a particularly busy place. One thing I will say for Winnipeg is it has been staffed a lot lately, and that's something that they've got going for them. Is they've been getting really good at being staffed regularly, which means the more often you staff it, the more likely people are to expect controlling there, and they will try to. They'll try to pick to fly there more often because they expect there's going to be controllers there more often. So it's sort of it's a field of dreams kind of situation. If you build it, they will come. Lima Whiskey Romeo, welcome to Thunder Bay. Where are you heading this evening?
Heading to apron number 1, Constraint Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Lima Whiskey Romeo, Roger. Take the next left turn on Delta, taxi Delta Alpha to apron 1.
Delta Alpha to apron 1. Thanks for your help tonight, Foxtrot Lima Whiskey Romeo.
Not a problem. Have a good night.
You too. Sorry about the Jets game.
No problem. I don't even know what the score is in the Jets game. 1-5. Ouch. Ouch. Game 3. Ooh, Montreal's leading the series now 3-0. Ouch. That's oh well. I'm not a Winnipeg resident, so So I just sent him a note that says that I'm not a Winnipeg resident, so I wasn't thinking about the Jets game at all. It wasn't even on my radar. Oh, Lord. Toronto Toronto choked, and that was probably the end of my interest at all in the playoffs. And I'm not a huge Toronto fan either. I'm not really a big. I enjoy hockey, but I'm not a big follower of it. I don't. You know, if it's funny because if I hadn't been driving to work for the last week and listening to the radios in the morning, you know, and the disc jockeys talking about. It's funny to say disc jockeys now, anyways. The people on the radio talking about, you know, the games, the various hockey games, and when Toronto lost, it's like, if I hadn't been driving to work and listening to those, I probably would have no idea Toronto had even made it in the playoffs. I would have no idea who's in the playoffs at all. That's the only connection I even have to it. I normally don't follow it. It's just not something that really interests me all that much. I enjoy hockey. It's a great game to watch, but I just don't follow it. So I probably wouldn't have even picked up on that Jets comment at all if I hadn't been listening to the radio driving to work all week. Let's see if I can save these Regina views now because I won't need them anymore. That airplane is well on their way. There we go. And the citation is down in apron 1 here. This is where the Aeroshell is, I believe, right here. So I imagine he's taxiing over there. If he knows his stuff. And it's funny when you watch VATSIM and you realize how many people really actually know their stuff on VATSIM. It's quite surprising. The number of real-world pilots that really know these airports well. They know exactly where to really go, what it really looks like. He might be lost. I think he's taxiing. I think this is the bearskin hangar here, I think. So it looks like he's taxiing from the bearskin hangar. Nah, not a big deal anyways. Done a little Vancouver and Toronto flying, but not a lot in Canada. Need to spend some more time flying up there. Yeah. Come on up. We got lots of great scenery. Winnipeg's a little bit flat, but the fun thing about Winnipeg is there's quite a few airports right around Winnipeg, so you could do some VFR flying up and down around Winnipeg. So there's Winnipeg right here. There's St. Andrews, which is right almost touching, you know, Winnipeg right here. So it's only about 8 miles away or 10 miles away, 12 miles away. It's very close, so you can do some short VFR flights. Portage is over here. Portage to Prairie's over here. Brandon's over here, and of course, if you want to. If you're flying in the FS Economy world, please come down to CJA3, Mord, Manitoba, right there. Let me see if I can actually put it up and put it on this permanently here. I can put whatever I want up there. Right there, CJA3, Mord, Manitoba. Come there in the FS Economy world, buy some gas because that's my FBO. That's the FBO that I bought that I did a whole introduction video in FS Economy, how to set up your FBO. It's somewhere down here in the YouTube channel, somewhere in the past. But yeah, that's where the FBO is. So you know, it's a great flight. It's about a 20-minute flight from Winnipeg over there, depending on the airplane. So come on over there, do some FS Economy hauling. But yeah, there's quite a few fun little airports like around. So Winnipeg's a good place to visit. Vancouver.
57-1 descend 3000 via Muse to be clear for the Alice on 81 approach.
2000, music clear for the Alice, we want to approach.
It looks like that citation's gone there. Vancouver is a really great place to fly. There's tons of airports very close to each other in Vancouver, like tons. Like, it blows me away. I had no idea how many airports there were so close together in the Vancouver area. You know, within like a 20-mile area. You've got Vancouver, you've got Boundary Bay, you've got, let's see here, Pitt Meadows, Langley, Abbotsford, just a ton. Like, that's 5, and those are all controlled airports. So 5 controlled airports, like in a 20-mile radius. And then, of course, you go across the sound there. You've also got Victoria down to the south. You've got Nanaimo over to the west. Tons of airports, very, very closely spaced, and beautiful scenery as well. So tons of fun to fly up there. I had no idea how many controlled airports were that close together. So I think there's some great scenery up in these areas. If you're flying Microsoft Flight Simulator especially, great places to fly. Vancouver is a really fun place to fly because the scenery is just great, and the P3D version was kind of good, but like, you start flying it in that MSFS version, and it just blows you away. You're just stunned by the great scenery. Alright, I just gotta check the altitude constraint here on the BFAN 2 arrival for this Air Canada flight. He's coming around for runway 31. Okay. He's gonna come in between 13 and 9,000 there, so. Let's see here. So 9,000, he's got to, let's see here, he's got to lose about 24,000 feet. So he's going to need about, again, 75 miles. Is that BFAN? Was that where the altitude restriction is? Yeah, BFAN. So about 70. So pretty much at Brandon, give or take, almost right at Brandon is where he's going to want to start his descent. He's getting there. He hasn't even reached cruise yet, though. That's what I'm waiting for. I want to see him reach cruise, and then I'll give him his runway assignment and everything here. Unfortunately, once we hand him off, that's it for now. No departures out of Winnipeg yet. I don't see anything else much happening, so we may wrap this up a little earlier. I'd like to stay on usually till 04 Zulu, but if there's really absolutely honestly nothing happening, I may log off a little earlier because there's no point in staring at a dead screen for a while here. We'll give it a little bit of time, see if anybody logs in Winnipeg to depart perhaps, because it's I'm quite impressed. Like, it's almost, Winnipeg has got full control, ground, tower, arrival, and center. Alright, Air Canada is finally leveling off. Well, I think they've been switching the ATIS between different guys, so I need to make sure I know which ATIS they got here. It is still Bravo.
Okay, 271 contact tower now, 118.3, see it?
Over tower, have a good night. Winnipeg Tower, Center 271's with you on the final for runway 31.
Okay, 271 tower, winds 2507, clear to land runway 31.
Clear to land 31, Air Canada 271.
Air Canada 427 Winnipeg. The information in Winnipeg is Bravo. You can plan runway 31.
Have information Bravo on board, and we'll plan runway 31 Air Canada 427.
That's it. That's all I need to tell that guy. I don't even have any overflight traffic. That's the other thing too. Like, once this guy gets transferred to arrival, I got nothing. Not even overflights, nothing. I don't even see any overflights inbound for the next little while here. Nope. I don't see anything much happening at all. Yeah, I think there is Orbex scenery for Vancouver. Let's see here. There's some really great Orbex scenery maps that people have done over the years. Freeware, Payware combined, Google Map. No, not that one. Yeah, so if you have, which pack is this? The Pacific Northwest pack also includes Vancouver, so it stretches from like way down south in Oregon, like almost down as far as Medford, Oregon, all the way up north to the past the northern side of Vancouver Island, and it has like high quality scenery all in there. So yeah, absolutely beautiful scenery if you can get one of those expansion packs. I like flying out there. I've been flying more and more out there because I've been controlling out there a lot, and I've also been helping out students, which means I've been flying back and forth. It's beautiful scenery out there. It really is. I really like it. Yeah, the Vancouver. There's two actually. There's FS Dream Team released an MSFS version of their scenery, and then yeah, FSIM Studios. Did they release it? I know they were going to. Did they release their Microsoft? Yeah, they did release their MSFS version. I couldn't remember if they'd released it already.
271, welcome to Winnipeg. Exit right, Papa, cross runway 18 and contact ground 121.9. Good night.
Right, cross 18, contact ground, 271, have a good night.
Yeah. So yeah, you got the FSIM Studios one, the one if you bought it off Orbex. FS Dream Team also had one. They're both really good. It's amazing what the airport sceneries people can do in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've got the FSIM Studios Kelowna, and that's also beautiful. And that's a great hop too if you're looking for something great to do in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Is Vancouver to Kelowna? That's like, depending on the airplane, like if you're talking the Dash 8, it's like 45 minutes to an hour. The CRJ, I think I did it in like about 40 minutes. Really kind of fun, and it's beautiful scenery. The approaches to Kelowna especially are just gorgeous.
Winnipeg ground, Air Canada 371, crossing runway 18, protect the range.
Air Canada 371, Winnipeg ground, welcome to Winnipeg. Take via Foxtrot Kilo Lima, apron at discretion.
Foxtrot Kilo Lima and apron is on discretion, Air Canada 371.
Air Canada 427, Winnipeg Center, when ready, descend flight level 240.
When ready to descend, flight level 240, Air Canada 47.
This guy's really trucking along here, 28 knots. It's might be a little bit fast for your taxi speed there. Yeah, I've flying that region of the world in MSFS is just absolutely spectacular. And I love doing VFR flying around that area because you could literally just pull up the VFR charts. Let's see here. You can pull up the VFR charts if I can do it here, if I can make it work for me. There we go. And you can pull that up and you can navigate the whole area just like on the VFR charts. It's fantastic. I love being able to do that. It's so realistic. You can see all the individual roads and the rivers and everything. You know, all these VFR landmarks, you can really spot them. You know, landfills and cement plants and the VOR courthouse, like all these things, the particular bridges. You can spot them so well in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you can navigate VFR so well around this whole area. It's just absolutely... I love flying VFR in Microsoft Flight Simulator because for the first time you can look out the window and you can look at the real aviation chart and you can navigate. You can really navigate that way. I like it. I've really enjoyed it. Alright, we can probably close these views because this is not doing anything either. You started down already. Surprised nobody's setting up any departures from Winnipeg. All this time here online and nobody's setting up any departures whatsoever. Air Canada 427, continue descent 9,000. Winnipeg altimeter 2956.
We'll continue to descend at 9,000, altimeter is at 2956, Winnipeg, Canada 427.
So I think that's going to be it after this guy gets handed off. I'll stick around for maybe another 10 minutes just to see if anything else pops up, but I don't think anything much else is going to pop up tonight. I think we've kind of run our course for the evening. Didn't have a whole bunch of traffic, but we did have some at least. It was not a total bus, which is good. Last time, like I said, I think we did Winnipeg Center about a month ago, and we had 2 airplanes the whole evening. I think I spent about 2.5 hours online. I had 2 overflights that just flew like from one end of my airspace all the way to the other. And then when they reached the end of my airspace, that was it. I just had nothing left. I'm just like, why am I sticking around if there's no traffic? And, you know, I don't want to log off too early, but it doesn't look like much else is forming. And this is sort of like we're into the waning part of the evening here on the VATSIM network now. We're down to 477 people connected, and it's going to continue decreasing. So if there's nobody inbound even, and that's the thing, I'm looking all around the FIR just on VATSpy to see if there's anybody inbound to any of the airports. Nobody except for this Air Canada 427. Yeah, that's actually Latin VFR. San Diego's definitely on my radar. That's one that I would like to do because San Diego's a fun little airport. It's a very compact little airport. For a single runway airport, it's quite busy, but I like to go in there. There's beautiful scenery. It's so close to downtown too. You can see the scenery nicely in San Diego, so I like to go down there. The Vegas scenery is really great too. If you get to fly Tampa or Las Vegas, that's really nice. It looks really, really good. I enjoy flying into Las Vegas. That's a fun, challenging little area to get into, that valley. San Diego's kind of fun too with it. I think it's a little bit of a steep approach if you're landing west. I can't think what the runway is, if it's 27 or 26 or whatever it is, but that's also really fun. I'm trying to think what other really good sceneries there are right now. Actually, I just got KDCA because it was on sale recently, so I picked up the Derzwiecki KDCA. I have yet to even fly into it. I just picked it up just at the end of last week, so I have to fly there at some point. That's going to be fun because that's a super awesome airport. The approaches in there, the visual approaches, the river visual, and the Mount Vernon. Is it the Mount Vernon visual? Yeah, I think it's the Mount Vernon visual 1 and the river visual 1.9. Beautiful approaches. I really enjoy flying into DCA. I always have. Especially the river visual, because you're coming down the Potomac. You've got all of like Washington D.C. off the left side. You can see the White House. You can see the Washington Monument. You can see the Capitol as you're coming down there, and you're just flying down the river. And then just at 500 feet, you start that last turn onto final. Your wings level by like 300 feet. It's just it's quite something. I really enjoy flying that approach. You gotta know your airplane pretty well to fly that approach.
Good evening, Alaska 718. Request Vfr clearance to Oakland International Airport.
Alaska 718, actually don't have a flight plan on file for you, so if you do that, then get back to me.
Roger, Alaska 718.
All right, a departure out of Winnipeg. It's a good thing I'm listening on the ground frequency as well here.
Alaska 718, request Vfr clearance to Oakland International Airport. I just filed the flight plan.
Alaska 718, standby clearance for request number 1.
There it is. So he's going to Oakland.
Roger. Alaska 718, thank you.
Alaska 718, get clear to your destination airport by the Vogate.
Won't be in our airspace for very long, but at least it gives us something to do.
Runway 31, squawk 4732.
Vogig. Direct to...
Could you repeat the Vfr clearance? I was almost ready to copy, but I didn't have my dock off.
Yeah, no problem. Alaska 718, Winnipeg ground. You were cleared to the destination airport via the Vogate 2 departure. Flight plan route. Depart runway 31, squawk 4732.
Roger. Cleared to Oakland International Airport by the Vogate 2 departure. Depart runway 31, squawk 4732. Alaska 718, thank you.
Alaska 718, that readback is correct. Push start at your discretion. Call me ready for taxi.
Push and start at my discretion. Call me ready for taxi. Alaska 718, thank you.
Okay, so my handoff was rejected because apparently the arrival controller is going to log out now. So we're going to get this guy vectored all the way around to final. Makes for a little bit more interest. Those of you that actually stuck with me here, gonna get a little bit more enjoyment. I live in San Diego. This restaurant, one of those high-rises, you can look down the planes doing the visual approach. And isn't that just like crazy, like to be sitting there in a high-rise and looking out and seeing the planes below you as they're doing the approach? That's it blows my mind. I mean, that's tons of fun though. I would spend hours there. I would spend hours there watching airplanes, for sure. Alright, so the arrival controller's gone. You can see the red line went because he's no longer there to take the handoffs. Now I've just got the red handoff for the tower controller here. Air Canada 427 Winnipeg, say requested approach type for runway 31.
We take the ILS Zulu for runway 31, Canada 427.
Air Canada 427, copy, you can expect that.
Roger, again, I'll close down.
So he'll just do the Dutch-Ru transition there. Alright, so wait till he passes B-fan, then we'll get him direct to Dutch-Ru just to cut the corner just a little bit, just save him a little bit of time. Make the flight just that much more efficient. Oh, no, I guess he's, I guess the tower controller switched up to arrival now. That's one nice thing about these lines that draw here on the screen, the red handoff lines.
Alaska, the ground, Alaska 718. What is the current QNH here?
Alaska 718, altimeter 29058.
So I believe that was the tower controller who's now hopped up to arrival.
Alaska 718.
Roger.
Alright, so we'll try handoff to arrival again, but this time it's a different controller, so this time it should get accepted. Whenever he's up and running. Air Canada 427, contact Winnipeg, arrival now, 119.5, g'day.
Order 119.5, thanks very much for the ATC tonight. Have a good evening, Canada 47.
Good night. You got one guy there. Oh, he's flying the other way, according to VATSIM, so he must have been logged off for a while there. Oh, we got one inbound to Regina. But he's on the ground in Calgary and hasn't taken off yet, so I don't know if they're going to make it before 04 Zulu. That's 40 minutes from now.
Big arrivals, good evening, Canada 427, descending through 1400.
Canada 427 arrivals, good evening, descend 3000, altimeter 2958.
Descend 3000, altimeter 2958, Canada 427.
Let's see if I can stick around till this Alaska guy departs. Oh, I got two airplanes on the ground here. Got a flare 456 as well. There we go. We're starting to get some airplanes now. I was beginning to lose hope that anything much was going to happen, but there seems to be some stuff happening now. Alright, in the meantime I switched my ATIS because it was at Thunder Bay, but there's no longer any traffic going in and out of Thunder Bay. There is one airplane scheduled to fly to Regina. However, they're on the ground in Calgary and haven't left yet, so I don't know. Do you talk to the other controllers in your center? Yeah, sometimes. Usually if I'm not streaming, I'll actually chat with them more. I try to keep the behind the scenes chatting that goes on the controller channels kind of private, so when I'm streaming I don't chat with them as much. But yes, we absolutely do talk behind the scenes. We have TeamSpeak servers and we do coordinate behind the scenes with things. Today I'm doing a lot more of it just by text, just because it's easier, it's less distracting when I'm streaming. But yeah, we do absolutely talk behind the scenes, especially for anything unusual. So a lot of the sort of standard stuff that happens, if everything goes according to like the normal plans, the normal procedures, there's not a whole lot of talking that has to happen. It's when stuff changes, when it's non-standard, then you've got to talk about it and make sure that everyone's on the same page and understands what's happening. So yeah, we do absolutely talk a lot behind the scenes. You won't even realize it's happening a lot of the time because usually it's pretty seamless. But you may get things like if you ask for a certain runway for arrival or something that's not conforming to what the ATIS has, then yeah, we'll have to go ask the other controller, so we'll buzz them behind the scenes, try and get a hold of them. Oh, it looks like the Alaska flight has pushed. I'm assuming that's the Alaska flight that pushed. Yeah. So he'll be departing before too long. So we'll get him out, we'll get him airborne. I don't know where that flare plane's going because he hasn't filed a flight plan yet. So I can usually talk to any of the controllers in Canada, where all the Canadian controllers are all in the same server in various different rooms, but we're all in the same server. So anything that needs to happen within Canada, whether it be, you know, talking to the other controllers in Winnipeg here, or whether I need to talk to the guys that are out in Edmonton, I can usually get a hold of any of them. Usually each division has its own communication channels, so VAT USA will have their own servers. I think actually most of the time it's each individual ARTCC in the U.S. has their own server. So yeah, but we can get access to their servers, and if not, we can always text them to the VATSIM network. And a lot of our messages often are done through text, especially across the border where we're not necessarily in the same server. But all the VATCAN controllers are all in the same server, so it makes it very easy for us to all communicate whenever we're online. And so I can if I had anything going on this border between us and Edmonton, I could talk to them about it. Right now, there's not much happening. There was a big flurry of activity between Edmonton and Calgary earlier, but it seems like most of the controllers have logged off now, so that seems to be dying as well a little bit. But it's really great when you also have the VATSIM network when you have like major airports that are close together. So like Winnipeg or Edmonton, Calgary is a great example of that. It's like a 45-minute flight between those two airports. It's perfect for VATSIM.
Alaska 718 ready for taxi.
Oh, there's
And Alaska 718
flares going to Calgary.
Altimeter 2958. Looks like you accidentally pushed the wrong way. Taxi VA from discretion. Lima Kilo Foxtrot Hotel Charlie hold short 31.
cleared to runway 31 via Lima Kilo Foxtrot Hotel Charlie.
You got it all.
Roger.
See, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with do I even look at pilot ratings? I would not look at this guy's pilot rating, but I would probably generally do things a little bit slower with him because he sounds like he's a bit of a rookie, sounds a bit young, and that's fine. You know, this is a great place to learn, but yeah, oftentimes when someone is a novice, when they're younger, when they're more inexperienced, and age is not necessarily a predictor of experience in this, but then I will usually generally do things a little bit slower. I'll talk a little slower, I'll give the instructions a little bit slower, I'll break them up into easier chunks. When I get someone who rattles off a clearance like he's Chuck Yeager, then I'll probably turn around and do the same back to him, and I'll talk just as fast back. So controllers, we really do adapt ourselves based on who we're talking to. We have to make judgments all the time, and it's mostly we make a judgment based on performance.
427, cleared ILS Zulu runway 31, Dutch route transition.
Clear ILS Zulu runway 31, Dutch route transition, Canada 47.
So yeah, you know, I hate to prejudge anyone, but I will make judgments based on performance. So however people perform on the VATSIM network, I will make judgments, and probably how I treat them in the future will be based on their current performance. So if they react to things quickly and are able to talk back quickly, then I'll usually expect them to do things quickly, and I'll treat them accordingly. If they're newer, if they sound like they're new, if they don't sound like they just are not talking as fast, they can't handle things as quickly, that's fine. It's no big deal, but I will generally slow down my pace of what I do, and I may not give them instructions that are as complex as I may give to someone who gives me the impression they understand what they're doing. But I definitely don't use that pilot rating to prejudge anyone, whether they're going to be good or bad. Can't wait to start your ATC training. Looks like fun. Yep. A lot of time just spent staring at the screen, doing nothing. But yeah, like very often when I'm not streaming, I will be in the chat room with the other controllers, and especially if it's quiet, we'll all just be chatting. So there's a big social aspect behind it that's not necessarily terribly realistic. In the real world, you probably wouldn't be chatting too much because you've got to be really focused on what's going on in your position. But because it's often very quiet on VATSIM, you know, we'll often be chatting, and maybe one person is busy and they may step into another room while the rest of us are chatting if they get really busy. But yeah, there's a big social aspect that happens behind the scenes too. So yeah, it's, you know, if there's not much happening on the network, if there's just, as long as there's another controller here to talk to, then it's still fun. You'll end up talking forever. You won't even realize you've been online for 4 hours. Adam, are you?
Canada 427, winds 240.
Adam, are you starting your training in VATCAN, or are you starting somewhere else?
Canada 47.
It's tons of fun. Sometimes it is kind of not the most exciting thing in the world. I will sometimes find time to log on where during the day when I'm doing something else that's not a particularly strenuous task, maybe studying, maybe typing out some documentation or something, I may log on if it's quiet and control, and then I don't have to worry about being too distracted, but I can provide some service to people. But you get these evenings, these busy evenings, you need your full focus on them. You can never assume you're going to have time to watch anything else. So you're going to have one guy land, one guy take off. It's actually getting a little bit busy here. It's going to be fun. This guy's going a little bit too fast here. Down that taxiway, he's going so fast. He must have been doing at least 40 knots. The software thought he had taken off because he's taxiing so fast.
Contact Winnipeg departure 119.5 via.
Departure on going to departure on 119.5 Oscar 718. Thank you. Good day.
See you.
It's just like a 2-mile final here. So I don't think he's going to launch this departure in front of that other arrival. I don't think it's going to fit, so.
Departure Alaska 718, holding short of runway 31, ready for departure.
Alaska 718, hold short runway 31.
Affirm, I am holding short runway 31.
In the real world, they would harp on that. If you didn't say your call sign when you said holding short, they would say it again and again.
Alaska 718, ready for takeoff.
Alaska 718, I understand that. However, there's an aircraft on about a half-mile sign-off, so hold short runway 31.
Roger that. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And again, that's something that I would also say as well, and in general, tell pilots the situation, fill pilots in on the situation. So I would have told him, hold short, traffic is 2 miles final. Then he knows that he's holding short for a reason, and it also kind of just puts people in the game. It's so important to put the pilots in the game and try to give them an understanding of where they are in the pattern, so that they can also be looking for hazards. If they see other aircraft out there that conform to their understanding of what's happening, of the pattern that's happening, then great. If they see something out there that does not conform to their understanding of the pattern, then they should question it. There you go. This guy got full ATC coverage from one end to the other. I can't afford 227. That's good.
Winnipeg, exit right 1 able, cross runway 36, contact ground 1.
Always nice when you can give somebody that full ATC coverage from one end of their flight to the other.
Runway 1, cross 36, contact ground. Thanks very much for the service. I can to 47.
Alright, 456 with the ground, you're to the Calgary Airport by the Bogig 2 departure, flight plan route, depart runway 31, squawk 4733.
Alaska 718, call me airborne, winds 240 at 9, takeoff runway 31.
Grizzly. Takeoff runway 31, Alaska 718, I will call you when airborne.
That's by far 456, it was the Bogig 2 departure.
My apologies, the Bogig 2 departure for Flare 456.
Yeah.
And Flare 456, read back correct, push start at your discretion, call me ready for taxi.
Push start hours, call you for taxi, Flare 456.
Yeah, Adam.
Winnipeg ground, good evening, I can to 427 on Kilo.
Busy. It's none of my airplanes, but it's still busy.
Winnipeg ground, welcome to Winnipeg, that's via Kilo Lima, apron at your discretion.
Kilo Lima, apron at discretion, I can to 47, thanks very much.
No problem.
And then this guy's going to be airborne in a second.
Alaska 718, airborne.
Alaska 718, report your passing altitude.
1,500 feet.
Alaska 718, you're identified. Turn left, direct the Minot VOR. That's Mike Oscar Tango. Climb flight level 230.
Climb 230, Alaska 718.
See it again. Not so much the age. The age is a little bit of a predictor, but he just sounds a little bit unsure. The phraseology is not totally standard, so I don't think he got the direct 2 there. And I'm not totally surprised. I would just have repeated it again. I'm not trying to second guess or criticize anybody, but I'm just sort of pointing out how you have to just sort of listen to the pilots, and depending on how they act, how they conduct themselves, you sort of make your determinations about their skill level. No, I guess maybe he's going to turn on course because he never read back the turn. But maybe he's going to turn on course. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, Adam, you were talking about Toronto's waitlist, and yeah, unfortunately that's a perennial problem. It's been a problem since on the VATSIM network for as long as I can remember. Is Toronto just has a long waitlist. It's a matter of, first of all, it is the busiest airport in Canada, so people want to go and control the busy airport, which is understandable.
Alaska 718, turn left, direct the Minot VOR. That's Mike Oscar Tango.
Roger, turn left to the Minot VOR.
There he goes. He's got it now. Yeah, it's just a function of, yes, it's because it's the busiest and most iconic place in Canada. I think it's the one people most want to control. So that's, lots of people want to pick it as their place to control, and a lot of people live around Toronto. So that's another reason why people will pick it as a place to control, not just because it's busy, but also because they're familiar with the area because they live around here. And then it comes down to just instructors. There is always a shortage of instructors on VATSIM. Everybody has to get one-on-one instruction, and when you're becoming a controller, you get dozens of hours of one-on-one instruction with a controller, someone who volunteers their time to spend time with you one-on-one. So instructors are a very precious resource. Instructor time is a very precious resource. So it takes a long time. It takes a few months, and it takes dozens and dozens of hours with an instructor to get you through all the different ratings. So each controller that wants to get in there is dozens of hours. So they've got a handful of instructors now. They've got 5 or 6. I honestly, I don't know exactly how many they've got that are considered active in that division. But it's all it comes down to is just try and the thing is, they try to finish the controllers that they have, because if you start it and then you don't do it very often, you're not going to build up that skill quickly. It's going to just atrophy in between. So once you start it, you want to kind of keep going with it. So once someone starts, they really try to keep them going continuously. They'll pause sort of after they finish a rating and sort of enjoy that for a little while before they move on to the next one. But we try to get the people who are already in and controlling, moving through the system quickly before we take on more people. So it's all the parts of VATSIM usually fall for the same problem. Usually, if an aircraft has a call sign of an airline that doesn't operate within the region which they're flying, they usually have less experience here flying. Yes, that's probably true. If they're not something you would normally expect there, and Alaska is not an airline you would normally expect to see in Winnipeg. So and that's probably that's a very good point. That's 100%. It's not a given. It's not 100% a yes. They will be not experienced, but it's definitely could be a clue anyways, could be a hint that they may not be experienced. But it may just be that someone just wants to have a little bit of fun, and maybe this is the only livery they have, or the only airplane they have that flies there. I try myself, I try to pick realistic call signs most of the time. I try to pick real world airline flights and emulate them. So I may pick I may pick my departure, my destination field, but then I'll go and I'll search for, okay, what's a real airline flight that flies this flight, and I'll try to pick that airline and fly that flight. So that could be that's a very good point. The other thing that you may look at, and that as a controller you'll look at, and will give you perhaps some gauge of someone's potential experience level also, is what their flight plan looks like. So do they have the correct 4-letter type code? I've seen people just literally write, instead of writing B738, they'll write Boeing 737-800, 12 characters long in the aircraft type. You'll just see them just, Winnipeg to Toronto, GPS direct, or Winnipeg to Dallas, GPS direct. It's okay. So, you look at the flight plan, and what you see in the flight plan, if it looks like something that was just generated by Microsoft Flight Simulator, or it's just GPS direct, that's a good sign that the pilot may not be an experienced pilot. But I just look upon that as a chance to educate them.
Alaska 718, contact Winnipeg Center 124.0, good night.
Going to 124.0, Alaska 718, good night. Winnipeg Center, Alaska 718, with you at 16,500 feet, climbing for flight level 230.
Alaska 718, Winnipeg Center, good evening. Continue climb, flight level 300. Alaska 718, affirmative, and you are now cleared to climb flight level 300.
Roger, climb 3. Climb flight level 300, Alaska 718.
Alright, that flare plane has not pushed yet, and the airplane going to Regina has also not taken off yet. So I'm going to be heading out in about 20 minutes. I'm going to end my shift on the hour. So I don't think we're going to get that Regina arrival in there, unfortunately. We may see this flare airplane depart here. We'll see if it starts pushing anytime soon.
718. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I'll notify you when I'm back.
Alaska 718, roger. Need to know the reason why you're leaving. Just tell me that you're going to leave. It's fine. Don't tell me the reason why. Too much information. Yeah, Adam, I agree. Like I like to try and keep it kind of realistic. How long does it take to become an instructor from the ground up? Well, that's a very different question. It doesn't necessarily have to take a long time to be an instructor, but generally, first of all, an instructor has to be fully rated. So you can't become an instructor on the VATSIM network until you've reached the C1 rating at least, and had at least, my normal requirement is 50 hours and the C1 rating before I will allow someone to become an instructor. So you need to go through all the ratings. So from the time you don't have a rating to becoming an instructor, several months at least, because you got to get your C1 rating, and then you've got to move up from that. But it's not a given that you're going to get an instructor rating. Not everyone who gets to be a C1 rated controller will be an instructor. Just because you can control airplanes doesn't mean you can teach how to control airplanes. It's a very different skill. Teaching is a very different skill than controlling. And yes, you have to understand what you're teaching, but not every controller is going to be a good instructor, and not every controller wants to be an instructor. They don't want to. They just want to do this for fun. And if teaching's not fun for them, if they don't enjoy that, then it's not something they're not going to get a lot of fun out of it. Their students are probably not going to enjoy what they're doing either. So, usually within a couple months after becoming a C1 controller, the staff will be watching, see who as a student turns around and helps their fellow students, and then they'll use that criteria to help teach, to kind of decide if they want these people to be controllers or be instructors or not. So, and then they may talk to the person, and they may say, hey, you make a good instructor. And the person may say, yeah, I just don't have the time. I really don't have the dedication. I don't have the continuous amount of time available to me to do it. So there's lots of things that kind of go into being an instructor. There's no guarantee anyone's going to become an instructor, but it doesn't happen until at least usually a couple months after you finish your C1 before you become an instructor. So unfortunately, there's never enough instructors. Maybe if we started paying them, we might actually get enough instructors. But because it's a voluntary thing, people have to enjoy it.
1-8, I'm with you.
We're going to be back momentarily.
Lots of 718 Raj. Few Ryanairs buzzing around Montreal. You hear weird sometimes things on VATSIM, but that's the beautiful thing about VATSIM is everyone gets to enjoy what they enjoy. I've controlled Clipper flights on VATSIM, and Clipper was Pan Am's call sign, and that has not existed for 25 years. So you can do what you like, and you can have some fun, and we all try to make it realistic as much as possible. But it's a hobby. It's here for fun, so there's a limit to how realistic it can be, and sometimes you just got to enjoy it, because these are not rated pilots. They haven't spent years training to become an airline pilot, so their procedures may not be the best. They may not be flying the most realistic aircraft. They may not be able to do all the things that the real airplane can do because they're flying a simulation that has simplifications along the way, shortcuts to make it run on a computer. The FMC may not be fully functional. They may not have an up-to-date nav database. I'm kind of excited about PMDG's DC-6, and there's 2 DC-6s flying in the world today, I believe. I was looking it up, and I believe there are 2 DC-6s that fly in the world. One's in Europe and one's in Australia. So, but in a couple of weeks, when PMDG releases their DC-6, we're probably going to have dozens of them rolling around the VATSIM network, doing who knows what, and you can have fun with it. It doesn't always have to be super realistic. I try to keep it somewhat realistic, but every once in a while I'll just go out there and have some fun too with it. So, would you recommend flying a lot of VFR flights before beginning controller training? Current experience primarily IFR flights in the sim. Jeff, you don't have to, but it couldn't hurt. Maybe just get a sense of what VFR flying is like, because as a controller you're going to have to deal with both ends of the equation. You're going to have to deal with the IFR and the VFR, and VFR is generally, for a lot of people, is the weaker knowledge area. The only people who usually do very well with VFR is people who are real world pilots who have already had that experience flying VFR. They know the rules, they know what it's like to work in the system as a VFR pilot, and so they know how they usually are treated, and they are able to kind of take that into the controlling system. But the vast majority of VATSIM controllers, because most of what we deal with is IFR. All these airplanes out here tonight, I've seen about 8 or 9 airplanes tonight. One of them was VFR and never even talked to me. And that's pretty typical though. Like you don't see a lot of VFR airplanes on VATSIM, so the controllers don't get a lot of experience with it. So it couldn't hurt, I would think, even just to get a little bit of experience, to get used to seeing what they're seeing, dealing with what they're dealing with, get used to flying circuits and understanding what the circuit pattern is, because that's something that's helpful as a controller, is understanding the circuit pattern and how airplanes will leave and join the circuit and fly the circuit, what it looks like. So yeah, it's not a prerequisite, but I think if IFR is what your experience really is to date, I think doing VFR flying would be a really good kind of prerequisite to becoming a controller, because you just get that a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more experience. You'd understand what am I trying to say here? But yeah, you'd have more of an understanding of what VFR is all about. You wouldn't understand everything, but it would give you a leg up for sure. It would help when you go to become a controller. I guess the arrival controller that we have now, he was the tower controller, now he's the arrival controller. He is I1 rated, so he could probably take over center when we log off here in a little bit. Because I see now we've got a second airplane on the ground here in Winnipeg again, going back to Regina. So we got two airplanes inbound to Regina. We got this Calgary plane here, so it's going to be weird. He's disappeared now because I switched over here. It says on the ground CYWG Air Canada 26, but I don't see him on the ground here. Am I blind? Oh, because they're at the same gate. The Flare 456 and the Air Canada 26 are both at the same gate here. Oh, if you zoom in close enough, you can see they're not quite perfectly at the same spot. But what are the odds of that? You know, out of 21 gates at the terminal, they both pick the same gate. It happens. It happens. It's funny though, when it does happen. Often use the 767 with Air Canada or WestJet, although it's retired. It's just an aircraft. Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like the 767 is an airplane that's kind of, for the most part, on its way out in the world. There's still plenty of them left, but it's there. It's definitely an airplane that's on its way out. So, but if you like flying the 767, go do it. Like the 747, actually, that's a perfect example. Like for me, like I really love the 747. I think it's a great airplane. Tons of fun to fly. I think she really is the queen of the skies. But not a lot of passenger versions left flying, especially now in the pandemic. Pretty much almost all the 747s everywhere got parked. So you go fly a 747 around VATSIM, it's not very realistic anymore, but it's also about being fun. I think it's also about being fun. Yes, and that's the thing about IFR, because it's very well scripted, exactly, and that's the word I use. It's scripted. It's a fixed set of rules that you sort of have to follow. Yes, it's kind of easier to understand. VFR being so free and so lacking in restrictions makes it a little bit challenging for controllers to kind of wrap their head around it and understand it. And I get that. I totally understand why that is. I totally, absolutely, 100% understand why that is, that people have a little bit of a hard time wrapping their head around VFR, because it's true. It's not well scripted. It's very minimal set of rules. You know, within a control zone, leaving the airport, taking off and from a controlled airport, yes, there's a specific set of rules. Once they get outside of that, they're very free to do what they want. So yeah, controllers do have a little bit of difficulty with that because it's not highly scripted. But yeah, I think a little bit of practice anyway. Certainly getting used to the idea of the circuit pattern. If you're not used to flying the circuit pattern at all, go out in the 172, fly circuits till the cows come home. And Jeff, if you haven't seen it, I do have a great video. I'm always pushing my own channel here, but hold on, I'll get you the link here. If you're not familiar with VFR and circuits, I did a couple of great introduction to circuits here. Let me just find it in my, if I can find it here. Let me see if I can find it here. Maybe playlists. I have way too many playlists. I have way too many videos. I was looking the other day, and the number of videos, the amount of time I have put into the VATSIM network is just ridiculous. Yeah, here we go. And probably, so there was a 2-part video I did. I would say you would probably skip to part 2, the actual flying of the circuit, more than anything here. Let's see, sorry, I just got to go back here and paste it into the channel right here. But yeah, so there, that was my introduction. So if you're familiar with circuits, then I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. But if you're not familiar with circuits, I do like a whole explanation of how to fly circuits, what it's like on VATSIM, and I actually just basically flew 2 circuits on VATSIM while we talked about all of it. VFR cross country is where the VFR cross country is where the real fun begins. Yeah, I think, and flying VFR cross country is MSFS is finally worth it. I've done so much VFR cross country time in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's great. You know, in FS Economy, I bought like a 172 in the FS Economy world, and it was located somewhere in like Arizona or something, and I ferried it one leg at a time all the way from Arizona, basically back up here to Winnipeg, right here to my. Here it is, CJA3 Morden, my home base here in Winnipeg. Ferried it up there just an hour or 2 hour leg at a time. I didn't ever stretch the tanks really because I was just having fun. I was just kind of picking airports and just sort of hopping from one airport to the next. I was also trying to make some money in FS Economy along the way, so I did like small, short hops. None of the hops were particularly long and big, but I just would hop from airport to airport. But literally, you just pick up the chart and you just look at it like I'm not the paper chart, but pick up the chart like SkyVector on the internet and just watch as the airplane's flying along. And there's that road, there's that rail line where the 2 meet. Okay, I just have to make a right turn, follow the river over there. I see the big lake in there, and the airport's right behind the lake. Like, VFR flying is great in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's very realistic. So tons of fun. I really enjoy that. But yeah, give that video a try. And you know, if you're familiar with VATSIM, then a lot of that stuff probably you understand. So I'm not trying to insult you. It's really kind of targeted more towards people who are very unfamiliar with VATSIM. But yeah, VFR is something that people don't do a whole lot. So part 1, I think I made those videos like 6 months ago now. But I think part 1 was mostly explaining stuff which you should be very familiar with, like how to use the altimeter and the transponder and all that kind of stuff. So things you should understand, but just learning the circuit pattern, flying the circuit pattern. Hopefully that video helps you out anyways. Neither of those planes has even started pushing back.
Winnipeg ground, Air Canada 26 at gate 10, requesting IFR clearance to Regina with information, India.
And Air Canada 26, it looks like you actually spawned where the occupied stand is. Could you do me a solid favor and just spawn to the next one? Over and we'll get that clearance there.
Roger, we'll spawn over at the next gate. Just one moment, Air Canada 26.
Roger, thanks.
See, and this is one of the few things that really kind of bugs me about Microsoft Flight Simulator, but like...
Ground is Flare 456, we're finally ready to taxi with, I think we have Echo on board.
And Flare 456, runway 31, altimeter in Winnipeg 2958, taxi via 8-minute discretion, Victor Hotel Charlie, hold short 31.
Ground discretion, Victor Hotel Charlie, short 31 for the Flare 456.
Roger.
Alaska 718 Winnipeg, you're leaving my airspace to the south. Minneapolis is not online. Your surveillance service terminates. Switch to en route frequencies and have a good day.
Roger, Alaska 718. Have a good rest of your night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah, what was I saying? I feel like I had a train of thought and I lost it. Well, I was listening to all that chatter there. Yeah, Navigraph is something that really I think is worthwhile too. It's a little bit expensive on an annual basis, but at the end of the day, like having full access to the charts is really useful if you don't have any other access to it. It certainly makes it easier to fly because you don't have to go searching the internet to find the charts. I mean, most airports out there, the charts are out there on the internet, but you have to know where to go looking, especially when you start getting out of North America. Like flightplan.com covers Canada and the US well, but then you get out of North America, you gotta really...
Winnipeg Tower, this is Air Canada 26 back with you at the unoccupied stand 10 now with information India requesting IFR clearance to Regina.
And Air Canada 26, thank you for that. You're cleared to the Regina Airport.
I don't think he switched stands, but anyways, doesn't matter.
Runway 31, squawk 4707.
Yes, that's what I was saying about Microsoft Flight Simulator. One thing that annoys me is you can't move to the next gate very easily. The slewing in that is ridiculously fast. And you can't just select a new gate or select a new airport. You have to go back to the main menu and reselect. You can't. That was one thing you could do that in P3D. Even while the sim was loaded, you could pick a new location to spawn to. So you could spawn at a new gate if you wanted to very easily. You could also change aircraft very easily while the sim was already loaded. And Microsoft Flight Simulator does not allow you to do that once you've loaded the sim. You cannot change the airplanes. You cannot spawn at a new gate. You have to go back to the main menu and start again and reload the whole sim just to switch gates if you happen to spawn at a gate where someone else is. And it's not so bad now because there's lots of P3D people out there, but as MSFS becomes more dominant, that's going to become really annoying at big events.
Looks like you missed Victor. You continue on Sierra to Hotel Charlie, hold short 21.
We'll continue Sierra Hotel Charlie, short 31. Our apologies for the fire 456.
No problem.
Yeah, but that's one thing that bugs me about that sim is that you can't switch airplanes, once the sim is already loaded, or switch locations, except to fly there or try to slew there, and slewing there is really annoying. So it's a shortcoming of the sim. I don't know how difficult it would be to implement changes like that when, change the airplane that's loaded once the sim's already loaded up. I guess they thought it was too difficult. They could never foresee a scenario where someone would want to do that, and I think that's a bit silly. I mean, especially switching locations. That's the thing. Like like you log into like a major event where there's 20 or 30 or 40 airplanes on the ground in an airport, and then you log in at a gate where somebody else is. Well, now I've got to close my sim, go back to the main menu, and select a new gate, and then reload it, and hope that that new gate's not occupied. And that, the loading the sim, especially with a higher end airplane like the CRJ is the example that we can all sort of look to right now, it takes a good 3, 4, 5 minutes to reload. You load at the new gate, and then someone else has already spawned in there. Like, not being able to switch gates while you're, while you're already loaded into the sim, that's going to become really frustrating in the future, and I hope Asobo is going to find some way to do that. If not, I think there will be a market for like an add-on, like someone who can just create like a simple little add-on that like will let you just like literally have like a little text box. You'll click like, at Winnipeg, change to gate 10, and you just reselect gate 10 and you hit enter or whatever, and it would zap you to that new gate without having to exit the sim and reload the sim. I think that someone will make a good. Someone at some point will make an app for that, because otherwise the FNOs and the CTPs will not work if I have to go back to the main menu and reload into the sim, and it's going to take 5 minutes every time. It's going to be a real challenge. Anyways.
And Flare 456, you can contact Winnipeg departure at 119.
Yeah, I think Avigraph's a bit pricey, but I do say it's worth the money. They provide a fantastic product.
Winnipeg Day, Flare 456, rolling on Charlie, short 31, ready to roll.
Really, really good integration between different platforms. They have apps on different mobile devices. You can use it on your web browser. You can download the application. Works in most aircraft. The charts load into most of the aircraft. Like I've got to say, like they have really done an excellent job of making a very generally seamless experience for the most part. The only thing I have complained about Navigraph lately is there's something going on with their logins, because where I used to have like a login would last me like a month, I have to log in like almost daily on my devices now, and it's usually like not the first time I go and open it up that day, but like sometime later in the day when I'm like on approach and I want to suddenly switch back to the approach chart, and then it's like, oh, now you need to log in again. I'm like, really? Now? While I'm on approach? Anyways, but like, yeah, I definitely think the Navigraph's worthwhile. Their product, they've got a good product. Anyways, as much as I'm enjoying this chat here, we got the one airplane rolling for departure here, but it is now 04 Zulu. It is now pretty much my bedtime, and this guy is Flair's worst flyer. Come on, he's going out to Calgary, so he's going to be en route for a good hour. I'm not going to be around to see that, so I think I'm going to call it quits for the day here, guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. And there's also I think it's in the comments of this video here. Yes, I have a Discord server as well. The Discord server it's mostly where I post future streams. So if you want to know ahead of time when my streams are going to be, usually a couple days ahead of time, I will post them in the Discord server so people can see and kind of plan to be there. If you want to come flying with me when I do my flight streams, you're more than welcome to. I usually publish at least the routing, the itinerary of what airports we're flying between. So make sure you've liked me or you subscribed to. You can like the video too if you like, but make sure you subscribe to this video, and you can subscribe to my Twitch channel as well, twitch.tv/CaptainNavs. Join the Discord so that you can be notified about future flights. And otherwise, I think that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for all the questions. Thank you so much for the chat. I've really enjoyed it. It's not the busiest sector here in Winnipeg, but it was kind of fun. We had a steady load of traffic. It was nothing spectacular, but we had a nice steady load of traffic this evening. And next time we'll definitely pick something busier. We might pick Toronto. I don't know what we're going to pick for sure, but we'll try and pick something that hopefully will be a little bit busier, get a little bit more traffic, have a little bit more fun. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay healthy, stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys all on the next stream real soon.